Hello everyone, Toadman123431 here, and today I'm showing you guys the top 10 don'ts for building a gaming PC. Now these are top 10 facts that are just in my opinion. This is what I believe you guys should consider if you want to build a gaming PC, which I know more and more people are starting to join in with gaming PCs. Alright, now first we're going to get into these top 10 facts. I apologize if I stutter, I have no script right now, I'm doing this all freestyle. Alright, starting with number 10. Don't just stop on one website or store for the best deals. Look, this is really, if you see what you need, don't just stop there. Look around, see if you can get some best deals. Maybe try to save some money in some spots, see what store you can find. I'm not saying go find a pre-owned one. I'm just saying look at Amazon, Best Buy, whatever kind of stores you can find to find the best deal so you can save as much money as possible and maybe even use the money you save to get something better. Alright, number 9. If you only have one storage device, don't get a hard drive or SSD with less than 500 gigabytes of storage. If you are planning have a gaming PC, you are going to need more than 500 gigabytes of storage, definitely. On this computer, am using maybe 600 gigabytes right now. I have a terabyte of storage, which is nice. I'd recommend a terabyte for a gaming PC. As games are getting more and more bigger, you're going to need more and more storage for all those games. So I definitely recommend, if you can only invest in one SSD or hard drive, make sure it is absolute bare minimum of 500 gigabytes. I recommend a terabyte, because you're going to fill up that 500 gigs relatively quickly. Alright, moving on. Number 8. Don't plan on having your computer far from your router without a wired connection. Now this one is relatively optional, but I know some of you do not have direct access to your routers, but then this is really important because you're going to have extremely long wait times if you want to download wirelessly, because at least here in the United States, our internet connection is it really depends where you live, unless you have Google Fiber or something, which is really only in a few parts of the United States now, but you're going to have extremely long wait times, and if your game needs to update, you're going to have long wait times if you have it wirelessly. I recommend having a wired connection. Once again, this is not mandatory. This is just if you don't want to wait for a long time downloading all your games. Alright. Number 7. Don't rely on overclocking to achieve minimum performance in games. Now this one is relatively important. If you're just thinking, oh, I can just overclock my 780 to get 4K bare minimum settings, I would not do that. If you're building a PC, you're probably gonna undershoot there. You want to meet your standard. If you can't afford it, then I would recommend just waiting till you can meet the standard. It's not worth dumping all the money if you can't even reach what you want to do now. Just wait on that, and you'll be fine later. Number 6. Core i7s are not the only option. Now, okay. This is sort of a myth that's starting to go away now with these days with gaming and PCs, all that stuff. But it does not cost $1 million to get a gaming PC. You can get one pretty cheap, actually. Some close to the price of a console, maybe about the same. But you can get many kinds of CPUs that are great for gaming. Core i7s can go up to $1,000, which is definitely not worth it. If you want a gaming PC, I recommend just a Core i5, which is just a couple $100. I'm running in Athlon X4 760K, which is only about $80. I know it's not that good, but I mean I think it's a great starter for the value. It's a great quad-core processor for the value. Alright. Number 5. Invest in what you want your system to do, whether that be gaming, Photoshop, web browsing, streaming Netflix, whatever. Design your computer to best fit what you want to do with it. For example, let's say you're a heavy video editor or Photoshop. I'd recommend getting a CPU, I'd recommend getting a high-performance CPU and a lot of memory, because that stuff takes a lot of memory. If you have multitasker, you have a lot of tabs open in Google Chrome or whatever, then I recommend having more RAM in your system. Now, if you're in gaming, I recommend to don't spike up on CPU and GPU unless if you're going for future proof, which would be you don't want your CPU to bottleneck your GPU unless if you're doing that on purpose because you're going to upgrade your card in the future. Just make sure you get the performance you want now, so then it's future proof. I'll bring that up later on in another recommendation. But you want to optimize your system to what you want to do so it can get it done as best as possible. So just keep that in mind when you're building your system. Number 4, research your parts. You want to make sure that the part you get is as good as it says it is. Now, spec sheets help. They don't always give the true story, but you want to know what you're buying. Just because some guy says it's good, you don't want to always take his advice. Do some research on yourself, seeing, okay, what does this have? How can I get better? How much more is this slightly better version? Is it worth the performance? Always research your parts. Don't just go spending money willy-nilly. Alright. Number 3, make your build future-proof. I said this in number 5. I really recommend in making your build future-proof so that you can save some money in the future. Unless you're building a completely high-end PC with all the Core i7s and GTX Titan X's, SLI, freaking thousands of dollars. If you're building that kind of system, you don't really need to worry about future-proof because your system is already going to last you a long time. But, however, if you're building a regular PC, a regular gaming PC, I highly recommend making your build just a little future-proof at least, so you can save some money down the road. Like, for example, I'll take my Photon computer, for example. It has 2 slots on the motherboard for RAM, so instead of getting 2 4GB sticks of RAM, I got 1 8GB, so in the future I can just slap in an extra 8GB of RAM, so I have 16 gigs of RAM, and to maximize performance. So right there, I spend some money now, so I can save some money later, so I don't have 2 extra 4GB sticks laying around doing nothing. So, also, for example, this would work with CPU sockets. Make sure the socket matches your CPU, and if a higher end one, let's take the Intel Core series, for example, that you can get a low-end i5, but you know that has the same socket as the high-end i5, so you can just always upgrade whenever you want without changing your motherboard or spending any additional money than what you pay for the CPU. This will always end up saving you some bucks, and it's really nice and handy tip, I think. Number 2, have more than 1 GB of VRAM in your graphics card. This is very important. This is why I put it for number 2, because if you want to run games like Battlefield 4, as you see here, you're definitely going to need more than 1 GB of VRAM. This game uses 1,800 megabytes, which is about 1.6, 1.7, I'm thinking off the top of my head, 1.6, 1.7 gigabytes of VRAM. All those HD textures that are in games these days need a lot of memory to be flowing through. So if you want to be running at 4K, you're going to need that RAM. You're going to need all that stuff to keep your computer on. I highly do not recommend getting a graphics card with only 1 GB of RAM. It just simply is not enough for gaming PCs. Same with, I'm going to throw this in there also, getting a dual-core processor. In the year 2015, you should not be building a PC with dual-core processors. I've seen this in Austin Evans' build. He recommended builds with dual-core processors. I personally disagree. I never tested his builds, but I highly disagree with dual-core processors. Even games back with Battlefield 3, if you only had a dual-core processor, you were missing some AI team members who weren't in the game. And if you have a quad-core processor, they're there. So even games back in 2012, I believe that game came out, you're already seeing negative effects of having a dual-core processor. And many games now, the minimum requirements is starting to be quad-core processors. So I highly recommend against getting a dual-core processor. Alright, and now, number 1. Do not 100% trust random people on the internet for facts. Now, this one kind of relates into this video. Always do some research on your own. I highly recommend that. Do not trust people like me 100%. I believe what I am saying is good information, but however, I can always be wrong. I believe these facts are very helpful and they're true, but you can never be sure with people on the internet. So just be careful of what you're buying on the internet. Make sure it's a reliable source and everything you read is from a reliable source. I just want you guys to not waste your money and know what you're buying so you can get exactly what you want and enjoy your gaming PC. Alright guys, this is the top 10 don'ts list for building a gaming PC. Sorry, I'm stuttering a little bit. I will be making a top 10 do's list on building a gaming PC later on. I don't know when that'll be up. That should be up in the next few days or something. But anyway, stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys later. Have fun building your PCs. Turtleman out.